Hi. Have you ever wanted to just punch somebody in the face? Wanted to take out all your anger out on somebody? Well, I'm here to tell you that there's a sport that allows you to do that legally. The sport is called boxing. And I'm here to inform you about the sport and some of the rules that make the sport safe. See, I've been watching boxing for quite a few years now. My first pay-per-view fight was Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Canelo Alvarez back in 2013. That fight was for the unified world title in the super welterweight division, 154 pounds. After I watched that fight, I became hooked on the sport. I started watching and researching fighters from all over the world and from all different types of weight classes. In boxing, two individuals face off in a square ring, but rules do vary depending on gender, level of experience, and level of competition. For men, rounds are 3 minutes, and for beginning level boxers, fights will be sanctioned at 4 or 6 rounds. As they begin to move up in competition and experience, fights will begin to be sanctioned at 8 or 10. And finally, for ranked world championship fights, fights will be sanctioned at 12 rounds. For women, rules are very similar, except they don't do 12 3-minute rounds. The most they do is 10 2-minute rounds. But recently, there have been many women who have shown interest in having the full 12 3-minute round fights, so maybe in the near future, those fights will be sanctioned. Compared to other combat sports like MMA, mixed martial arts, where you can throw kicks, elbows, and allow you to fight on the ground, boxing is only stand-up fighting. The most used set of rules in boxing is called the Unified Rules of Boxing. Within the Unified Rules of Boxing, there are 13 specific rules. The first rule is that each round should be 3 minutes with a 1-minute rest period in between rounds. The second rule is that the referee is the sole arbiter of a fight and the only individual with the authorization to put a stop to a contest. The third rule is that 3 judges will score and evaluate all bouts. The fourth rule is that the 10-point system is the standard system in scoring a bout. The fifth rule is that after all knockdowns, the mandatory 8 count will be the standard procedure in all bouts. The sixth rule requires all fighters to wear a mouthpiece at all times during the fight. Without a mouthpiece, the bout will not and cannot start. If during the fight the mouthpiece is dislodged, then the referee will have to call a timeout to have the mouthpiece thoroughly cleaned or replaced. The seventh rule states that there is a no standing 8 count, and the eighth rule states that there is a no 3 knockdown rule. In the ninth rule, if a fighter is knocked out of the ring, they are to be given a 20-second count. If they are assisted, then they have the risk to lose points or be disqualified. In the 10th rule, it states that a fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round. In the 11th rule, it states that if a fighter sustains an injury from a fair blow and it is enough to stop a fight, then the fighter will lose via TKO, which means technical knockout. In the 12th rule, there are 2 sections about injuries that are sustained by fouls. The first section is about intentional fouls and states that if a fighter causes an intentional foul and the injury is enough to put it into the bout, then the fighter who caused the fight will be disqualified. The second section is about accidental fouls and states that if an injury is enough for the referee to put it into a bout, then the bout will result into a no contest or a no decision if it is stopped before the bell of the 4th round, ending the 4th round. In the 13th rule, if a fighter is hit with an accidental low blow, then they must be given up to 5 minutes to recover or they lose the fight. Those are the 13 unified rules of boxing. Another little rule of boxing is the type of glove or size of glove that they use in boxing. Boxing gloves are weighed. So if you fight in the 147-pound division and below, you will use a 8-ounce glove. And if you fight in the 154-pound division and up all the way up to heavyweight, then you will use a 10-ounce glove. They started weighing gloves in boxing because back then they didn't know which glove could have more cushion or than the other. So the only way that they could find out if one glove had the same amount of cushioning was by weighing them. So that is how and why they use weighed gloves instead of sizes such as small, medium, and large. Those were the basic rules and some of the history behind boxing. I hope I did a good job of informing, and thank you for listening.